You know that you're certainly tuned into the most comprehensive bulletin in the country. My name is Wilson Buru, and our sign language interpreter is Marisha Witi.
And I'm Nancy Kachingira. Thank you for joining us this evening. Let's begin with that controversial issue that we mentioned a few seconds ago. Adolescents aged between 10 and 19 could be provided with condoms and other protective devices in a new campaign against HIV and AIDS.
Now, the campaign, dubbed All In to End Adolescents AIDS, is spearheaded by 4 United Nations bodies and several private groups, and is seeking partnership with governments across the globe.
Well, it's aimed at providing contraceptives to adolescents in a raft of measures to cut the increasing rates of infection among this particular age group.
KTN's Linda Ogutu now reports the launch of the campaign will be done in Nairobi by President Uhuru Kenyatta next week to accelerate the war on HIV among adolescents.
A lot of young people, a lot of young minds, and a lot of innovative minds because of HIV and AIDS.
If you look at AIDS-related deaths, we also know that of the approximately 48,000 deaths, 17% of those deaths are among adolescents. This is sort of the single largest, should I say, age cohort that experiences death, and we have also established that globally it is the leading cause of death. In Africa, it is the leading cause of death.
The reality on the ground that many have shied away from, the taboo topic in many homes that has now translated to the latest proposal for intervention by the National AIDS Control Council. The council says it's time the country did something to stop the AIDS scourge and sexually transmitted diseases among adolescents, many of whom are still in school. This journey, they say, will begin from giving adolescents contraceptives.
We're looking at 10 to 24 years.
The campaign, spearheaded by the United Nations organizations and government, aims to provide contraceptives to adolescents, including condoms, in a raft of measures to cut the increasing rates of infection among this age group. The campaign, dubbed All In to End Adolescent AIDS, is planning to promote a bold mass media campaign in order to address existing norms, attitudes and beliefs that are allegedly leaving adolescents vulnerable to being infected with the disease.
If there was healthy communication between us and our teachers and our parents, then I believe that would lead us away from risky behavior.
The council says targeting adolescents with condoms and other protective devices may be controversial due to social and cultural norms, but maintains it is a necessary move that could save thousands of adolescents grappling in the dark.
So I went to be tested, and I met the person who's doing the testing, and she asked me, "How old are you?" And I said, "I'm 16 years old." And "Why do you want to be tested? What have you been doing? What is these activities that you're engaging in? Where's your parent? Does your parent know you're here?"
Those are issues we don't talk about because we always say it's a bit too difficult to engage sexuality in schools.
According to the council, the race to reduce and eliminate barriers that are preventing adolescents from seeking and accessing HIV testing, treatment and care services could save the country millions of shillings.
We are also talking about a lifetime economic liability for governments, whether in the context of prevention, so that there is no transmission from those who are HIV positive, or in the context of treatment and lifelong treatment of ARVs, and the cost of that can be astronomical.
According to the latest data by the National AIDS Control Council, at least 16% of Kenyans living with HIV and AIDS are adolescents and youth aged between 10 and 24 years, or at least 263,000 people. In addition, almost a third of all new infections of HIV in the country are adolescents, while 17% of all deaths are in the same age bracket.
It is a polarizing debate, this one, and on our Big Q tonight we are asking, do you support that proposal to give condoms to adolescents aged between 10 and 19 years? The responses on Twitter are massive already. Let me just take this one. No, please, those who need will buy for themselves. There's another one, that is Leonard Karani. Patrick Alushula here says no, or is it the case from Wacha Mpango Wakando to Weka Kondom Pangoni now to kids?
All right. Well, we have heard that at least 16% of those living with HIV and AIDS are between those ages of 10 and 24. And it's our big Q this evening. We're asking you whether you support the proposal to give condoms to youth between the ages of 10 and 19. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on this, and you can do that by tweeting us at KTN Kenya, at Wilson_Mburu, and at Kachingira, or send an SMS 22155. That's the number. And when you do that, start with a yes or no. Later on in the bulletin, we'll give you a poll result that will show just who is falling where in this debate.
Let's go to the courts now, where 3 men have been sentenced to death for the killing of former Embakasi Member of Parliament Mellitus Mugabe Were. The 3 were sentenced by the High Court Judge Luka Kamau, who indicated that evidence brought before the court proved beyond reasonable doubt that the 3 jointly participated in the murder. Betty Kialo has the details.
He allowed the deceased to use the motor vehicle.
After many years of mistrials, the 3 finally had their fate sealed.
PW1 and PW2, the distance.
They stood before the court ready for the verdict. The family of the late legislator waiting to hear just what years of back and forth in the corridors of justice would finally yield.
The accused jointly with others not before court murdered Mellitus Mugabe Were.
And after High Court Judge Luka Kimaru read through documents of the case since it started, he finally dropped the bombshell.
And I hereby sentence you the first accused, that is James Omondi alias Castro, the second accused Wycliffe Walimbwa Simiu, and the third accused Paul Otieno alias Baba, to death in the manner provided by the law.
A woman, Mary Mudhoni, who had been charged alongside the 3, was however freed for lack of evidence. The 3 have been in custody for 4 years. The initial trial collapsed the same year the late Mugabe was killed, and what would follow was a series of mistrials as the court did not have substantial evidence.
2:30 a.m. on 29th January 2008 to visit the scene of crime at Woodley Estate.
However, while passing the judgment, Judge Lucas said that the prosecution had proved that the 3 murdered the late Mugabe. Mugabe was killed on the 29th of January 2008. The killers are said to have trailed him to his house in Woodley Estate, where they accosted him, robbing and killing him on the spot. In a video footage obtained by KTN's Crime and Investigation Series case files, the convicts James Omondi and Wycliffe Walimbwa confessed killing Mugabe Were on that fateful night.
Huyu alikuwa shamtoa nje kwenye gari, akachukua simu yake, wallet yake, alikuja pale barabara na kupiga search, ndio ashaniambia nishachukua, twende.
Nikija tu kabla nisikie mahali yuko, nisikia mlio wa bunduki, mlio wa risasi, kapiga mara ya kwanza na mara ya pili, na bado alikuwa amemshika, kisha mimi nami nikafaya zangu mbili.
Although there were reports that Mugabe's killing was political assassination, as he had just won the Embakasi parliamentary seat 14 days before his killing, the 2 convicts told police it was not, as they did not know who Mugabe was when they allegedly attacked him, and they were just after his valuables. According to the judge, the 3 have the right to appeal. Betty Kialo, KTN.
Kenya retains the death penalty for murder, armed robbery and treason. Now, it's 3 days since the brutal murder of Kabete MP George Muchai, and critical questions about the killing are yet to be answered. But while the dust is far from settling on Muchai's case, another member of parliament, Simba Arati, claims that his life is also in danger. The Dagoretti North MP says that this is the 5th time he is reporting to the police about a threat to his life. Sharon Mamanyi tells us more.
I found out from the informers who have given me information, and the information I believe is true, of the intention of some people want to kill me. Of course, there's been a number of meetings which have been held.
It is the cry of the Dagoretti North Member of Parliament, who claims that his tormentor, a developer who he claims has encroached on a 7-acre piece of land in Lavington, now wants to slay him.
I did a project. We met there. What the gentleman did, removed gun on me. Actually, he wanted to shoot me. Thank God for the bodyguard that time I had, who intervened. And it was all over. The guy went around and bought the clips actually from the media houses. The media house that was, I have that clip, finally I got it, when he wanted to shoot me. Then later on, the chairman for National Land Commission has come, he has actually literally come to the site to see, and he confessed that that is a wetland.
The MP's fear comes right in the middle of the shocking murder of Kabete MP George Muchai on Saturday, a murder that has left the whole country puzzled. The Kamama-led Administration and National Security Committee says it is out to get the answers. This time for sure, they say.
Cabinet Secretary, together with his team, should actually work round the clock to ensure that at least within 72 hours we have these criminals.
But it is the very possibility of a national legislator getting murdered under the protection of armed, trained bodyguards and right in the middle of the city that has left ordinary Kenyans feeling utterly vulnerable and unsafe. Security analyst Francis Minor says that while protecting very important persons, security training is necessary not just for the security guards, but the VIPs themselves too.
Elevating the VIP protection can be used as a training first to the VIP themselves on how to behave and what to do when they are outside the jurisdiction of their parliament or the Senate. Then, on the tools of what should be used, we need to have a VIP protection department like the Secret Service. People who are hired purposely. They don't do anything else. They protect the VIPs.
He says VIPs should have armored vehicles.
They are not expensive. And it depends on how much value you value your life. It's about $170,000. That's exactly the same price you buy a Land Cruiser.
Every Kenyan has a constitutional right to protection, and one may wonder, why go the extra mile and cost to protect VIPs?
VIP protection is an issue every country has, because you're visited by international leaders, VIPs from other countries. And if they see that this is the magnitude we have, you get so many VIPs not coming in, and so many trade agreements and business and bilateral trade agreements they are not signed in, because unless you go to that country, people don't want to come to your country.
The murder of Muchai, who will be buried Friday, has left a feeling of disillusionment among many who thought that armed bodyguards were a guarantee for safety. Question is this going to be one of the many incidents that the whole country forgets, only to be slapped by another incident later? Shalmomanyi, KTN.
Now to education matters, where school fees across public secondary schools has seen an exponential increase over the years, and now a section of MPs are saying they want this trend nipped in the bud. The members of parliament are threatening action against Education Cabinet Secretary Professor Jacob Kaimenyi should he fail to implement recommendations made by an education task force last year. Here's KTN's Edith Kimani with the details.
It took 20 members of parliament drawn from varied political circles to deliver this rare, unified and stern message. And this is the man the legislators claim they can no longer stand, and it all has to do with school fees across public secondary schools.
2013 fees has been investigated in many instances and found to be invalid or unjustified. How do you tell people to stick on the injustice of 2013 when this report talks about making education free and compulsory in 2015?
The recommendations Kabando wa Kabando is referring to were put together last year after a task force sat to look into the state of education. One of the recommendations was for government to lower school fees by contributing more towards each student's school fees.
I wish to reiterate that secondary school fees payable by students should be as per government policy.
A move that has proven unpopular, especially with parents. Last week, a section of parents took to the streets calling for the reduction of school fees.
School fees nitapata 1100 hata kama ninaweka ache. Mimi mwenyewe ni mtu wa kuuza kideri. Hii githeri itasomesha mtoto.
The legislators who are now backing these parents want Kaimenyi to implement the recommendations or risk facing unspecified action.
You issue annual fee guidelines. They are no more than mere rituals. And then you listen to how the cabinet secretary and even the principal secretary, how they talk. They sound like captives. Who is this who has made them captive?
Until such a time, however, all the legislators have is a unified stand against a man who has been unwavering on the issue. Edith Kimani, KTN.
Well, parents will be hoping that the CS will change his stand on that issue. Now, let's go to Narok, where the leadership row in that county between Senator Stephen Ole Ntutu and Governor Samuel Tunai took another twist, with the governor daring the senator and MPs allied to him to resign and seek a fresh mandate. And now Narok West MP Patrick Ole Ntutu, who is allied to the Narok senator, dared Governor Samuel Tunai to join him on Monday in presenting their resignation notice to the IEBC. The battle lines were drawn even as Tunai convened a peace meeting in Kilgoris County, and we'll be bringing you that story a little later on in the bulletin. But now, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has come under heavy criticism from a National Assembly committee for allegedly compromising the fight against corruption. The commission was berated for signing a memorandum of understanding with the Nairobi County government, which is accused of shielding top City Hall officials suspected of corruption from prosecution. But the anti-corruption watchdog has blamed its ineffectiveness in fighting corruption to a scarcity of investigators, lawyers, and budgetary constraints. Patrick Amimo has more.
The anti-corruption team was giving a progress report on corruption cases they had completed and those pending. But members of the National Assembly's Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs questioned why the commission had failed to take action against a top official in Nairobi City County government suspected of embezzling public funds. Preliminary investigations had apparently indicated that the officer had made large deposits in several bank accounts running into hundreds of millions of shillings.
I'm told it runs into millions of shillings, hundreds of millions of shillings in his account. So what authority do you still require from the county government? That's a person you just get hold of him and you take him to court.
We have to apply the law as a commission. So, Chair, when we are told we should pounce on the man and place him in court before the DPP and before anything happens, it becomes difficult. Because next, what will happen is somebody else will ask us to pounce on somebody else, including.
If you follow the thread of argument, you will realize that that pact between Nairobi City County and the EACC is for promoting corruption.
By law, we cannot suspend at that time because the matter is still under investigation. So, can we invoke the memorandum of understanding and ask Nairobi County to suspend the officer?
So you are so actually helpless and so desperate that your mandate under the law is eroded completely by virtue of the MOU.
In the 2012-2013 financial year, the Commission's Directorate of Investigations opened 1,423 cases, but only completed investigating 111 cases. In the 2013-2014 financial year, 1,959 cases were taken up by the Commission for investigation. Out of these, only 193 were completed. The Commission says it is facing both financial and staffing challenges in the fight against corruption.
We need more than 700 investigators. We have only 100. Yes. We need over 200 lawyers. We have less than 50. And out of that, 25 were just recruited 1 month ago. We have a serious backlog of our files, not at investigations level even, when we look at the cases we have taken up, at our evidence analysis level.
Especially the grand corruption cases. The trend that we have seen is that they are charged before the anti-corruption court. They go to the High Court to say their rights are being infringed. So time is taken in determining that.
Mumo Matemu was cagey when asked to explain whether the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions was frustrating the anti-corruption crusade.
We must have the presence of mind in terms of the separate and independent mandates. About being firm. And we want to be as firm as possible in the following terms. We have 3 files which in the next 14 days the DPP must make a decision whether to prosecute. Because that is his decision.
Emurua Dikiri MP Johanna Ngeno clashed with the committee's chair when he expressed dissatisfaction with the manner in which the anti-corruption watchdog investigated corruption allegations in Narok County.
Corruption, mega corruption matters. We only wanted investigation to be done, not stories.
Okay, you need to be clear.
I'm clear. You're only taking sides with them. You also want to be like Kangato.
But don't intimidate.
No, I'm saying. I'm not even intimidating you.
The anti-corruption team will appear before the committee next week to give detailed reports on status of investigations on some mega scandals. Patrick Amimo, KTN.
Well, let's go to Makueni County now, where President Uhuru Kenyatta has now appointed a commission of inquiry that will now probe the allegations laid out in a petition by the residents of Makueni of that county who are seeking the dissolution of the county government. Now, the president did receive that petition and the signatures accompanying it, and did give those signatures to the IEBC so that they can verify that every person who signed that petition is actually a member, is actually a registered voter and a resident of Makueni County. In doing this and appointing a commission, the president was following section 123(5) of the County Governments Act, which outlines the criteria in which members of the commission are selected. And let me go through a few of these criteria. The commission shall comprise a chairperson who shall be an advocate of the High Court with at least 15 years experience. It shall also comprise the chairperson of the National Police Service the Police Service, the persons residents in the affected county, and those who have not for the last 10 years stood for an elective office in the affected county government. Those are just some of the criteria that have been selected in the County Governments Act. Now, the President's team, Mohamed Nyaga, who is the chairperson, Johnson Kavuludi, who is of course the chairperson of the National Police Service Commission. The other member of that commission is Emily Gatuguta. If we can just go to the next slide there. Professor Harrison Maithia and Alice Wairimu and Derito, and the former Mombasa mayor, who is Taib Ali Taib, is now a lawyer. Now, the course of action: the president did receive the petition with the signatures, as I said. He then gave those signatures to the IEBC. The IEBC verified, and they did indeed said that the verification process was done. They said that those people who had signed the petition were actually legitimate voters of Makueni County. The Senate Speaker said he received the president's letter. The president sent the Senate Speaker the letter confirming that he did receive this the petition with the signatures. So the Senate Speaker, of course, received that letter. Let's move on to the next slide. The devolution committee is now expected to vet the 6 names that I have just mentioned. This is a process that is expected to take about 14 days. The devolution committee is, of course, chaired by the Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen, and they have been given 14 days to either approve or disapprove the names that have been forwarded by the president. And as I said, that committee report is expected in 14 days, after which now we expect to see some decisions being made on whether the president is going to dissolve the county government of Makueni or not. Remember that on Monday at a press conference, the Governor's Council did call for the dissolution of the troubled Makueni County, with the Council of Governors Chairman Isaac Ruto says it is taking too long to do this. Nancy.
Well, it does look like some action has been taken, but we still have to wait and see whether...
It's still a very long way to go. This is just the start of that dissolution process, which might also take a bit more time than the chairman of the Council of Governors wants, but it's definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, whichever way you look at it, it's still a long way from being resolved.
Absolutely.
Right, well, let's remind you of what we are discussing on our Big Q this evening, and it's condoms for kids. That's the hashtag. And so many responses to this. We're asking you whether you support the proposal to give condoms to youth between 10 and 19. I'm just going to quickly read a few tweets. This one from SC Kate. You say, I've been teaching for a long time, and I usually discuss freely with the kids, and I teach them about sex and it helps, so hers is a resounding no. On the other hand, we've got John Gatima, who says HIV is a reality, especially among the youth. Anything done to avert one infection, I will support.
As we said, it is a polarizing debate. You can get us on Twitter at Wilson_Mburu at Kachingira. The SMS line is 22155. When you send in an SMS, make sure you start with a yes or no. Right now, we go for a very quick break. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us on KTN Prime. Now, the reopening of the Nairobi County Assembly today was marked with an unexpected turn as Senator Mike Sonko once again challenged the leadership of Governor Dr. Evans Kidero.
Now, Sonko, who was invited to address the County Assembly as per the standing orders, made claims of massive corruption. KTN's Dorcas Wangira reports.
Order, Honorable Hashim. Order, members, we still have time. Order. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members, we still have time. Order, honorable Mumo.
The governor was quoted I think a couple of days ago, in one of the days, that if the senator has any evidence, he should stop tarnishing the name or names of his executive. If he has any evidence, let him rush to the anti-corruption offices. The same guy who owned a company that was distributed, that was given sugar by Mumia Sugar to go and supply, sell, bring back our money. Mumia is collapsing today. Mumia is collapsing today. Why? Because of this supplier. Mumias is collapsing because of Wainaina. Mumias has collapsed because of Governor Kidero. Mumias has collapsed because of Peter Hongo. Mumias has collapsed because of Abbas, his father, brothers, family. And today in Nairobi County, as we are quiet, county honorable members.
Now, when reached for comment, the Nairobi County Government's Director of Communications, who is also the county spokesman, Walter Mongare, said that the Senator Mike Sonko had the right to address the county assembly, but as to what he used the podium to say, the county reiterated that the governor's doors are always open, and if Sonko had issues to discuss, he is welcome. The county, however, declined to comment on Sonko's allegations. Let's move on. And now let's turn to the Senate race in Homa Bay County. Tonight, Victor Ogale gives us the profile of candidate Fred Ragbongo.
I come from a large family. My family alone, we are 10. We're 10 siblings, and I have a stepmother. Also, the same number of siblings. So I come from a family of 20 people. I went to do my secondary in Miranda High School. Okay, thereafter, from Miranda High School, I went to Baringo High School. Thereafter, I went to Kenyatta University, where I did economics and business. And later, I went to teaching. I went to teach in Kajiado High School.
Please just the school and help us to be dusty jumps in the food.
And later joined McCann Erickson, and after McCann Erickson, I joined the oil industry. I worked in ESO, the then ESO, which is now Oil Libya, and rose to be the marketing manager. And after I left ESO, I went to start my own business, which is Impulse Promotions. And I've been in Impulse Promotions up to now. I've not been at the forefront. And especially for the last 3 years, it was mainly because I was a civil servant. My last posting in civil service, I was in the board of trustees of NSSF. The biggest problem that we have in Homa Bay is poverty. There's a very high level of abject poverty. People have gotten used to being poor. The problem, I think, is that there is lack of exposure. If you look around, everybody is poor. And since everybody is poor, you imagine that everybody is like that and the rest of the world is like that. After devolution, there should be some paradigm shift. We should start seeing the effect of devolution within the first 5 years. And now it's 4 years down the line, and I'm just seeing we are receding. It's getting worse and worse. Women are the backbone of that economy. If we empower them, then I am sure we'll move to another level. There are issues of water and availability of water. These are issues that drag them backwards. These are issues that reduce their time that they can spend on thinking on other issues like generating income for themselves.
We have Howie Foundation, and through this Howie Foundation we've had projects that are running. We've supported women, and he's passionate about empowering the woman.
I like my dad to become senator of Homer Bay City and to help the people of Homer Bay City, especially the women.
People will be interested to know what you've done for them. There's a lot that I've done for my people. I built churches, I built schools, I have built dams for them. Uza sera zako, na ukiuza sera zako vizuri, wananchi watakupigia kura. And that's basically what I'm doing.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to KTN Business. My name is Abi Agina. The Kenya Roads Board is proposing to increase the fuel levy from the current 9 shillings in a move the agency hopes will see it raise revenues to bolster its road maintenance budget. The board, which is charged with road maintenance and construction, wants the government to raise the levy by a minimum of 3 shillings, which could push it to 12 shillings. So what implications will this have on road users? Here's more on that story. The proposed move by the Kenya Roads Board to raise the fuel levy comes at a time when the authority is struggling to meet rising maintenance costs on Kenyan roads. The Roads Board claims that road maintenance costs have skyrocketed to an estimated 50 billion shillings a year, hence the need to increase capacity to raise resources. The levy is a user charge on petrol and diesel that, if implemented, could see fuel prices rise in the country. According to KRB, it estimates the backlog of road maintenance work requires 400 billion shillings to improve. The Roads Board is also pushing for the involvement of the private sector through a PPP framework as an avenue to generate funds to maintain and pave new roads in the country. Observers reckon that one of the sure ways of securing financing and full-time maintenance of roads is through public-private partnerships.
Well, I think this is a very exciting time for Kenya. We're going to start seeing some major improvements into infrastructure, and a lot of that's going to be funded through the PPP model, where we're bringing private enterprise to work with the national government. And again, I think it'll be an exciting time for everyone to see some of the physical improvements that are going to be made. That's going to make the economy grow, but also make people's lives better as to how they use the infrastructure programs here in Kenya.
Although the move to have the fuel levy increased is not likely to go down well with motorists who are currently enjoying low fuel prices, the Roads Board appears keen on having its proposals adopted. Kenya is currently working round the clock to bridge the infrastructure gaps it presently faces. The annuity financing program is among key interventions by the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. The ongoing project is expected to deliver about 10,000 kilometers of tarmac in under 5 years. Kenya has only managed to pave 14,000 kilometers of roads in 50 years of independence. Well, moving on, the Central Bank of Kenya is in the market selling treasury bonds to offer budgetary support. The bank will be selling a 2-year bond as well as reopening a 10-year bond seeking to raise up to 25 billion shillings. The 10-year bond coupon rate has been pegged at 12.371%, while the 2-year bond will be market determined. The government usually borrows domestically through sale of treasury bills and bonds to finance long-term projects and service short-term obligations such as paying public sector employees. The sale of the 2 bonds comes less than a month after the central bank reopened the 2 treasury bonds for sale, seeking to tap up to 20 billion shillings in the auction, also meant for budgetary support. And now to some interesting development in the line of oil and gas. The skills gap in the oil and exploration has created a huge challenge for firms in the industry. From lack of skilled welders to rig operators, oil exploration in the country has created the need to better equip people to work in the industry. And now the National Oil has partnered with Strathmore University to develop a curriculum to improve on the size and quality of labor available for the nascent industry.
Kenya's quest to explore oil in northern Kenya has not been without its fair share of challenges. Oil exploration companies operating in the country have had to hire foreign skilled labor in bulk, owing to the wide skills gap in such a dangerous but highly lucrative field. Research commissioned by Africa Oil and Landing Foundation on skills and training needs for Kenya's emerging upstream oil and gas sector established that between 6,000 to 15,000 jobs will be created in the next 10 years in this industry. To this end, having the right skills for the job will be crucial, creating the need for specialized training. Collaboration between industry and educational institutions towards developing a market-driven curricula is one of the steps that need to be taken now towards developing human capital in this nascent industry. One of such partnerships has been sealed today between the National Oil Corporation and Strathmore University.
This will see us offering executive short courses in oil and gas. The focus of this particular collaboration with Strathmore is on the top and mid-tier executives, both within the public and private sectors.
This Center of Extractive Industries brings together national and international capacity, blends them, and trains people so as to improve the local content.
At the moment, industry stakeholders are at work developing statistics on the available workforce, but the numbers are said to be marginal.
We are at the beginning of a process of mapping what are the detailed human resource needs that will be required both over development and production, and then map that against local capacity, including capacity of the universities to produce those.
The need to develop a pool of skilled workforce comes at a time when the economy expects to gain close to 1 trillion shillings from the Turkana oil basin within a production period of 30 years. It is also estimated that investments worth 9.9 billion shillings will trickle into the economy within a period of 8 years as prospecting companies continue to pump in more investment. This has however been disrupted by the burst cycle in the global oil markets, bringing lower yields for oil-producing countries. Charles Gitonga, KTN Business.
Well, moving on, South African insurance Metropolitan Life has concluded a 66% acquisition of Canon Assurance. The move highlights the move by multinational firms angling for a piece of Kenya's insurance business. The acquisition is part of a move by Metropolitan and Momentum International Holdings to grow its presence in Africa. The South African group has committed close to 4 billion shillings on its expansion strategy, with half of the funds going to the Canon acquisition, which has strong footing in Africa. And Canon per se has a general insurance which they look forward to diversify and offer more products. The merger officially saw the two companies appoint new directors to spearhead the business into new territory. With insurance penetration in the country standing at about 3%, the two companies will be banking on growing their footprint in the region as well as develop competitive pricing for their products.
A growth industry in Kenya. We, as members of this new financial house, through the new brand that we launched today, intend to be an active participant and contributor to this growth.
We at Canon have been taken over by Metropolitan International, the third largest financial services group. They are a publicly quoted entity on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. I would put them in the category of giants. So the consumer really is protected by our combined strength, one at the local end, one coming from outside the borders of Kenya, and I feel that the consumer, by that very makeup, has the protection.
very good evening and welcome to today's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Moses Wahisi. Starting us off, the former deputy chairman of the Kenya Rugby Football Union, Sasha Mutai, was this evening unanimously elected as the new interim board chairman at a special general meeting held at the union offices. 33 clubs attended the meeting despite of a court injunction issued by a Kisumu Chief Magistrate Court barring the meeting from taking place.
Sasha Mutai is the new interim chairman of the Kenya Rugby Union following the passing of a motion of no confidence on the Gabriel Ouko-led board. Ouko was acting after former chairman Mwangi Muthe stepped down late last year and was followed by other 3 directors. Mutai, a former deputy chair, was installed during a special general meeting that was attended by 33 clubs, including Mwamba, Black Blood, Mombasa Sports Club and Strathmore Leos. The SGM was held despite a court injunction issued by the Magistrate Court in Kisumu.
Not contravene that order, and to add to it, I must say the court injunction was not in order. If you look at it, it's a court injunction from Kisumu. The jurisdiction of the Magistrate Court in Kisumu does not allow it to stop us from having a meeting here.
The special general meeting was overseen by the Kenya National Sports Council. The Sports Council Treasurer, Charles Nyaberi, disclosed that the council was not served with the injunction barring the SGM.
I must clarify, as the council, nobody has served us, nobody has. So all that we've seen, we've just accessed copies of that order, or if it's, I don't know whether it's order or purported order, from other parties.
Mutai was elected alongside Jack Okoth, who was unopposed for the Secretary General's position. Deputy Chair Gerald Chege and Joshua Eroni, while Ocheng Ohaya, Dan Kimaru, Benjamin Ayimba, Ken Munari and Patrick Mwangi were elected as directors.
The previous board did not want to listen to the people. So the people have spoken. So this is people power, right in action.
Sasha insisted that the new board does not expect any legal complications to affect the operations.
Purported court order from the Magistrate Court was found to be patently flawed. We had the top lawyers in the country look at it, and within a minute it was dismissed. So this was properly constituted.
Mostly reinstated into the Kenya Rugby Union fixtures after suspension. Lynn Washira, KTN Sports.
That might be an opening drama in the union. Let's see how that pans out. To matters of soccer, Mathare United is one of the best breeding grounds for Kenya Premier League clubs. And due to annual mass exodus of players, the club has been reduced to a shadow of its former self. The 2008 Kenya Premier League champions best exemplifies the never-say spirit that they had, since it has survived relegation by small margins in the past 4 seasons. With the 2015 season likely to kick off February 21st, the Slam Boys hope to better their performance in a bid to retain their footballing status.
The 2014 season was one that Mathare United fans and players would like to quickly forget. After experiencing a massive exodus at the end of the 2013 season, the club was left with only 3 experienced players heading into the 2014 season. The 2008 Kenya Premier League champions were however not down and out, as they survived relegation after finishing 10th with 38.6 points better than in 2013.
We tried our best to make sure that tumaliza in 10th position, but still haikuwa our best kwa sababu tungemaliza pia kwa position mzuri than position 10.
2014 wasn't bad, ups and downs, but I think we basically performed very well. Although we didn't reach our targets, that was top 8. Although we finished 2 points, coming season we're going to perform better.
Coach Okumbi recruited the likes of George Owino from Sofapaka on a season-long loan, Kasi Mohammed from KCB, Peter Wainaina and Kelvin Sochieng. With that lineup, the Slam Boys now look set to challenge the status quo in 2015.
The team imeshashikana maanisha tunaweza rudisha ile cohesion tulikuwa nayo last time, ile enjoyment tulikuwa nayo kwa game. So niko sure that this season itakuwa marvelous.
I think 2015 I think we will not be competitors. Tutangangana tukue hapo the best 3 from this season 2015.
They opened the season against title holders Gor Mahia. Robinson Okenye, KTN Sports.
Right, well, as we wind up this bulletin, let's go back to our big queue and find out what the results are. We asked you whether you support the proposal to give condoms to youth between 10 and 19 years.
Well,
The results are on your screen now. 83% of you say no, and 17% of you say yes. Let me start with a no here from Mike Mwangi, who says this is preposterous. Giving them is encouraging immorality.
Well, Reverend Ocheng Patrick Njoro, thank you for your message. And you say that is defeatist. It means we can as well legalize robbery with violence, since the death penalty hasn't helped in eradicating the vice in our society. This is the peak of moral decay. That's in your SMS.
Amos Wafula here says, I think it's the right direction because prevention is better than cure.
Well, let's hear from a teenager, and this is Janice in Kiambu County. Thanks for your SMS. You say, I'm a teenager and I don't think it's the right thing to do, since it is as if they are encouraging us to have intercourse. And one of the few yeses came from George in Nairobi. He says, yes, obviously they're already sexually active. How long shall we continue to bury our heads in the sand?
Well, that debate continues on Twitter. Continue to send us your views, and that debate, of course, it's an endless debate.
It is. So many views on both sides. And if you want to engage in that debate, you can continue to do so. Condoms for Kids is the hashtag. Thank you so much for having joined us tonight. It was great to have your company. I'm Nancy Kachingira, and Marisha Oiti was our sign language interpreter. Good night.
My name is Wilson Buru. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good night.